Hello and welcome back to Patriot Contraptions. Today I'm doing the video I promised last week, which is the review of the FT Simple Cub. I'm obviously doing this as a novice, and the reason I'm doing this review as a novice is because I don't want any experience I gain later on to interfere with what I'm thinking about now as a novice and the troubles I may forget in the future that are fresh in my mind right now about flying this aircraft and the things that I found difficult about flying it. So, let's get started. I'll also go over what I didn't cover last week as far as the controls I have hooked up, the servos, why I did things the way I did, what components I use, stuff like that. But first off, check it out. This thing looks cool. I love the way this airplane looks. I said it last week, I'll say it again this week. It looks really nice. Now, you'll notice that I don't have it fully painted up yet. I've just got some squiggles on the side that I did with a pen. That's because I figured I would crash it a lot, and I did crash it a lot, and I didn't want to ruin my new paint job with the crashes. I'd rather fix the repair and do repairs after I crash and get my beginner crashes out of the way so I could then paint it up nice and have that paint job last for a little bit longer. So that's why I did it that way. But right off the bat, let's get into one of the troubles I had with this plane right out of the gate, and that was balancing the airplane. As a novice, I watched videos on balancing planes, and for some reason in my head, I got it stuck that you were supposed to balance the airplane like this, with it slightly at an upward angle, kind of like almost it's in the parked position. That is not at all correctly the way to balance. You're supposed to balance the plane level, like this, like it's flying, actually. So just through the air. Now, I had trouble too, because I'm building this from scratch, figuring out where the point to balance on the wing actually is located. And you will find that it's located pretty much directly where the front spar is on the plane. It's right here, kind of by the front of the servos and right where the spar goes along. I had a lot of trouble finding that. As a matter of fact, I had the plane completely tail balanced, and I had the plane completely nose heavy balanced as I tried to play back and forth and figure out where the correct balance point was for this aircraft. What I ended up doing is once I figured out where that balance point was, in order to balance it correctly and speed up the balancing process, I put this little paper clip in place on the wing. You'll notice there's a little loop coming out of the wing right at the center of gravity spot. And what I do is I strap the wing down with the rubber bands to the fully loaded aircraft, and then I balance it, which is, that way I'm getting the plane balancing just as it would be balanced in flight. I'm not having anything else interfere with it, so I'm balancing it both forward to back and side to side at the same time, because it's just hanging by its center of gravity, which is really cool. It's cool to see the plane hanging like that. It's cool to just play with the controls and get it leveled out that way. I like doing it that way a lot. And I'm super, super happy I bumped into this really weird forum where they were talking about that method. Just something I want to say. If you haven't done that before, do it. It's awesome. Servos for the ailerons, really easy to install these. I had no issues. These are the micro servos. I bought them in, I think, a 4-pack off of an online store. And I have not used the ailerons yet when I'm flying. I'm still flying this as a 3-channel. I've got the ailerons disconnected most of the time I'm flying. So, wing itself has held up pretty good. I have damaged the front sides on both sides here from numerous crashes where the wing went in first. But other than that, the foam has held up phenomenally. Super happy about that. Moving along here, one other thing on the wing. When you're assembling it, you will need to get one of these splitter cables, which allows you to connect 2 servos at the same time. I didn't have that right off the bat. I had to go order it. So you will need that. Next thing we're going to cover is what I actually am using to power the fuselage and the plane in flight, which is the motor you notice up on front. I did not buy the power pack motors that they have. I actually ordered this motor a week before I decided I was actually building this plane. So that's because I thought, hey, I could design a plane from scratch. I could build it. Who needs any instructions? I'll do it myself. So I ordered the motor and everything beforehand, and then I went and decided that after failing a build, which I may cover at some point, I would actually build something that I knew flew, which is the Simple Cub. So this motor here is an A2212 motor, which is 14,000 kV or 1,400 kV. I'm still understanding what exactly that means, but part of it is revolutions per minute, and the other part I believe is motor size. That's just my estimate. This is not the stock propeller that came with it. This is actually the stock propeller that came with it, and if you guys will notice, it's been broken a number of times and super glued back together. As a matter of fact, this propeller right here has 3 distinct crack lines in it, because the number one problem I've had is forward crashes directly into the ground and breaking propellers. So one thing I will say as a novice, be sure you have a ton of propellers on hand. One day I had to take 5 trips to the field and back because I would go to the field, I would break my 2 propellers, I would come back, I would spend an hour gluing the propellers back together, waiting for them to dry, then I'd put them back on the plane, go back out there, break them in 5 minutes, and come right back. So get yourself at least 10 propellers because you can super glue them back together. You're obviously not supposed to super glue them back together, but I did it, and it seemed to work out okay. They flew, and it kept me in the air. Now I've got some newer propellers like the one you can see on it. These are 60-80 propellers, by the way, which means 60's got to do with the pitch and 80 has to do with the length. 80 stands for 8 inches, so it's 8 inches from one side to the other. Now on the inside here, I have my FSIA6 controller, which is a fly ski controller, and it's 6 channels. I chose the 6-channel one because it's only a few dollars more expensive than the 4-channel, and it gives you the option of in the future having 2 more servos or maybe an accessory or something on the plane. So that's why I went with this. On the inside of the plane, you can see I have 2 servos mounted. These are both micro servos, and this one controls, actually on the opposite side here, the rear upper and lower controls, whereas the one on this side controls your rudder control. So they actually go through the fuselage and they cross each other. Now, the control linkages I'm using are brazing rods, and one of my friends happened to have them. He's into brazing, and I was trying to figure out, like, where do you get this small wire? I couldn't figure it out. So he's like, hey, what if you used 1mm brazing rod? So I was like, well, cool. Do you have any of that? And he's like, sure. Here's some. So I'm still I got to work with him. I got to find out where you actually order this stuff. I'm assuming you can get it from a welding supply store. I'm not sure what type of rod this is, but brazing rod is what I'm using to get these long gaps. You can obviously order the more expensive servo rod, but it's like $10 for 10 servo rods, and that's a lot of money. I'd much rather buy a whole pack of brazing rods somewhere. So, next up, the connection for the wing. The 2 little pegs sticking out of the side. You will notice there's a difference in size. The rear one is a chopstick, which is what I first installed for holding the wing on. The front one is new and improved. That's actually a piece of dowel rod. Definitely go with like a 1/4-inch dowel rod on the front end because these take a lot of wear and damage. The little like 1/8 of an inch chopsticks just don't cut it. They break easily. Is one of the things I found. One of the pet peeves I kind of have with this plane right now as a novice is the power pack. It's weird as it sounds. The power pack is supposed to allow you to pull it out of the front of the plane like this and slide it into a different model, which it probably would do great. The issue I'm having with it as a novice is it's not really that easy to do. The reason for that being, you still have to unplug the battery before you pull it out. You have to unplug every single servo if you're going to take the receiver out with it, or you're going to have to end up leaving the receiver in the plane anyway, which means that when you go to the next plane, you'll have to have another receiver set up in it, or you have to spend the time to unplug it, put the receiver in, and then go over. Also, it limits your ability to get into the plane and put stuff in there because you have to have this slot and guides in position instead of having like a fully open inside where you can put stuff anywhere you want. So on my next plane, I'm probably not going to be using a power pack when I design it. To me, it's not too hard to undo 4 screws and put a new board on the front. It just seems easier. Now, the motor speed control is mounted on the bottom of the power pack is what I ended up doing because they put their batteries down here underneath, and for the purpose of this video, I am using a 1330C LiPo battery 3-cell in my little simple cub here. This battery works out quite nice. I've got Velcro, which I got from a dollar store, and that sticks to another Velcro piece on the inside here, which will allow the battery to stay in place. I put it down and not shift back and forth, because one of the early problems I had flying was my battery would start balanced up here, and then by halfway through the flight it would have slid back and the plane would be all out of limbo. So I straightened that out by putting Velcro on the battery. I could not get the Velcro for some reason to stick to the bottom, which is where I noticed the guys at Flight Test were mounting their batteries. It just, for some reason, my Velcro wouldn't allow the battery to stay, and it kept falling out of the airplane. And then I've got an airplane with no power falling out of the sky. So that didn't work out too well for me, so it ended up in here. So the tray worked good for that, and I do like the idea of having quick access to the battery, just not through the tray. So that's one thing I'm going to be trying to figure out on my next model that I build. As far as the front here, I'm actually using a piece of, I don't remember the technical name for it, but it's super compressed cardboard. And you can buy this actually at your normal like wood store. You get it in 4x8 sheets, and it's $7 for a sheet. And it's a 1/4 inch thick. And I've had a lot of uses for this. I built my green screen out of it. I just can't currently rename the name, but it's like compressed cardboard, foam board, super solid, really rigid, and works phenomenal for my motor mount here. So that's a cheap way that I found to mount my motor to my power pack. For landing gear, the model calls for 2 spars to hold the landing gear in place. One would come from back here, the other one would come from up front. I only have 1 spar, as you'll notice. I'm using clothes hanger wire to hold my wheels on, which works pretty good. It also means that on impact, these wheels will sometimes bend back, and then I just put them back in position by bending them back into position, which I kind of like, because rather than having rigid wheels where it would hit and maybe balance, it just absorbs all that impact by bending, and then I put them out straight. Now, I may in future add that extra supporting piece of clothes hanger rod to keep them in place. I'm not sure yet. For the wheels themselves, this is a brilliant idea I feel like I had coming out of nowhere. I was at a local thrift shop, and I saw they had all these little toys for $1. And they're just little kids' toys. You push them on the ground and stuff, and a lot of them have wheels on them. So I just went, I bought one of those toys, took the plastic wheels off, and used them for my plane wheels. Very affordable, very cheap, and I actually got 4 wheels. So I've got 2 more wheels for something else that I can put them on. So that was a really nice thing I found, so I didn't have to actually order wheels. But pretty much, so far, I like the aircraft. I've had a lot of fun with it. It's flown pretty well. I did bash the nose a ton of time. We already covered how I level the plane now. But I bashed the nose a lot, so the nose needs some repair and reinforcement and gluing. My rear section here, the tail, has actually held up pretty good. There's no major issues with it. There's a minor bend coming. I'm not sure if that may be from transportation where this little bend is. But I don't have any reinforcement in it, and it's still holding up just fine. Oh, one other cool thing I found just when I was ordering my original, I bought some rods for this that were too short, so I ended up not using them, and that's when my friend suggested I use brazing rod. But those rods came with these cool little adapters, and I'm going to have to put a close-up of them so you can see how they actually work. But I was able to just slide them through the foam, and then they've got a little clip on the back that slides on and locks in position, so you don't even have to really glue them that much. They just snap right into the foam. Super cool, super easy way to connect your servos to the tail and rudder. So I really like that. I use that on everything. I'm probably going to see if I can actually 3D print some stuff as well for connecting them, but right now, that's a phenomenal solution. I don't know who came up with it, and I'm going to have to get the technical name of what they're called, but the little snap-on controls are just phenomenal for this aircraft. As far as flying characteristics, my first impressions as a novice was that this thing was extremely, extremely touchy. you pushed a control on the controller here, I was pretty much handling it as full up or full down, which is the wrong way to fly, I know now. But instinctively, I just push on it and boom, the plane would dive, or pull back on it and zoom, the plane would go up, instantly stall, and then crash. So I realized I had to be a lot more gentle with the controls. Now, one thing a more experienced guy recommended I do to get rid of that problem of me just having the inexperienced thumbs and pushing too fast on the controls was to take the linkages in the servos, and if you're on the front servos, move those linkage arms closer to the inside pivot point. That means that when you actually punch it all the way to the top on the servo, it's moving a shorter distance on the flap. So it'll actually, instead of giving you a full bend up, gives you just a minor bend instead, which will eliminate a lot of problems with the oversteer that I had as a novice, where I was just punching the control and stalling the plane out all the time. If I had moved those servo rods in, like maybe 2 holes from the outside or something, the plane would have been a lot more sluggish in its response, which is good. Sluggishness is good as far as I'm concerned in a plane, because that means I don't crash it. Every time I crash, I have to go and do some repair to the aircraft. So that's one piece of advice I got from a more experienced model airplane guy that I highly recommend. If you're a novice, don't put these servos all the way at the tip. I know it's cool to see the fins and stuff move. I liked it a lot, seeing them move a lot, but it's really not the best thing as a novice. You definitely want, especially what I found is the up and down control fins. You don't want those to be very touchy, which they are if you put them all the way at the tip here. So other than that, it's a lot of fun to fly. It has plenty of power with the motor I've got in it. It flies, I'd say, probably right around the 14-mile-an-hour mark when I'm watching it just through the air. And overall, I enjoy it. It's a cool little plane. It's been a lot of fun. I'm learning a ton, and I highly recommend just doing a pre-made model just to learn from, because you don't have to worry about you having the model wrong, because you know the model is good. So you spend all your time learning about the aerodynamics, learning about how to balance it, learning the basics, which is what I needed as a novice to get me to now that I'm starting to understand how the airplane works, how it's supposed to be balanced, where the center of gravity is, where the center of airflow is, and all that. I can then move on to now designing my own plane, which is what I plan to do in the future. So overall, fantastic little airplane. Love it. It's cool. I'm going to do a repair of it, and then I don't have any way to film in-flight videos yet, but probably order some little cameras, maybe to mount on the wingtips or something, so I can actually show you guys a better video of it flying than I have now. But I'll paint it all up, and this is going to be my little trainer plane for a while. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe. I'll be doing more plane builds in the future. I'm having a ton of fun with this hobby. I wish I'd gotten into it sooner. And as always, all of you out there, have a fantastic day. Check out my other videos, and I'll see you in the next episode. Patriot Contraptions, signing out.